Hi, it's Paula from Paula Quilting. Welcome back to my channel. The quilters group I belong to had a workshop this past weekend and they were making Linus quilts for Christmas. So we had a big donation from a local shop with the Christmas fabrics, and they were using that at the time of that workshop to make quilts. Unfortunately, I were not able to attend that workshop, but that should obviously not stop me to make my own quilt to contribute. So some time ago, one of my friends from the quilting group gave me this bundle of fabrics. They were kind of made like this in the package. I thought those are like maybe half of the fat quarters or something like that, but when I've opened it up, lovely fabrics by the way, they kind of, all of them are different lengths. So you can see this is the shortest one, and they're going longer and longer. So kind of a strange situation a little bit here, but again, that should not stop me from making a quilt. So I decided to link in this pattern magic numbers, so when I put blocks together they will all fit nicely. But also I want to make some more with curves, because I like really making curves. So what I need to do first is find the smallest fabric, which actually is not the one at the top. I think there's one more which is shorter. Here we go. This was the shortest piece, and I will trim all of those fabrics to the same, more or less the same length. At this point of time I'm not measuring anything yet. I just want to cut them because I will be stacking them to do the next step. So I did also raid my own buckets with the Christmas fabrics, and I've picked up few more of the fabrics with the Christmas theme, which I will do the same thing. So I will cut them all more or less to this size, and then I will show you the next step. Okay, so all of my pieces are trimmed more or less to that size of the main fabric, and I've got 12 pieces of them. They're about 12 inches wide and 20 long. I am going to be trimming them quite hugely later, but no worries, all the scraps are going to go to another project, so no problem there. So I've got 12 pieces, and I will divide them into 4 stacks of 3. I'm going to work with 1 stack at the time, because those are quite big pieces, and 1 stack will give me obviously 3 blocks. So I do align them from the bottom. It doesn't have to be perfect and exact, because we are going to be squaring up those blocks later, so no worries there, but I just want to have some sort of lines I will follow more or less together. Okay, so it's good to have a good blade in your rotary cutter for this exercise, and I'm going to cut this fabric 3 times, and I'm not going to be cutting it straight. I just want to make a small, well, not small, very gentle curves. So that's 1, 2, and 3. And as you can see, I've not been measuring anything. I just went with it from right to left, and I'm mentioning it from right to left because that's how it's more convenient for me. But if I want to have blocks which I can then put as a mirror image, I need to make a next stack from left to right, or you can turn the fabric face down. Then you can still go from the same side, but it will be on the opposite side when you kind of turn around the fabric, and that's how I will do it. I think my preference is going this way with the curves. You can do both ways, that's great. So the first stack will stay as is. The second stack I will just put this fabric at the bottom. The third fabric I will take the bottom fabric to the top, and this one stack again stays the same, so the first fabric and the last fabric is the same. So what I want to do now is turn it around for sewing, because I want to start sewing from the bottom edge, not where the curve was coming out. So I will just use my ruler to go under so I can turn them around in one go. Basically, you could turn it around one by one too. It's just me trying to be clever, but never mind. So what I want to do is now stitch all of it together, and because basically you've got now set up 3 blocks, you can chain piece that work. First sew those pieces together, then add the 3rd piece and 4th. So let me show you how to quickly do it. Okay, so like I said, I will go with my first 2 stacks from the left to sew them together in one go. I've got 1/4 inch foot here, but you don't have to if you don't have one, because the only thing you want to do is make sure your seams are following the curves. It doesn't have to be even exact, because they are curves. Just as close as you can, and also it doesn't have to be 1/4 inch distance, can be a little bit more, because it's you know, we're going to be squaring it up later anyway. So because I've turned the block around, that all of the straight edges now are at the top, so it's easy to start with the curves. Curves are very gentle, so it will be easy to sew as well, but just go slowly. So because fabric is caught on the bias in some places, you just need to be careful not to pull on the fabric. Let the machine pull it, and the only thing you want to do every time when you get to the bigger curve, just stop and readjust. You may even want to put the foot up at that point, then foot down, and carry on. Just don't pull on the fabric, otherwise there will be some puckers there. So that beginning was quite nice and gentle, so there was only a little bit of movement, and now I need to slow down and start readjusting the fabric. So basically I'm just pushing the bottom fabric towards left and kind of pulling my fabric, top fabric, to the right, so they meet together. But as you can see, it's not like actual pulling, it's literally just kind of steering the fabric where it needs to be. And go slow, there's no rush here. All of those curves are quite gentle, so hopefully you should, you know, by the time you get to 2nd, 3rd block, you will find, you know, your confidence there. So that's my stack number 1, and I'm just going to carry on with the stack number 2. Now some of those fabrics are directionals and some not, but I'm not worried which way they were laying down, because for me quilt is kind of, it doesn't have a direction unless you want to hang it and it needs to be, you know, in the specific direction. It really doesn't matter, because for me the quilt will be used from any direction. Also, I do not know how I'm going to lay out those blocks yet, so there is no point of worrying about it at this point of time. So again, 2nd part. Okay, so I've sewn all the first part of the stack, and I can go back, cut out the first one I've sewn, and add the first piece from the 3rd stack. So that's my 3rd stack here, and the fabric will go against it. Again, that top here can match up all nicely, and then I will be working on my curves, which are still quite gentle. Now don't worry if you kind of starting from matching the right corner and then you open up and that fabric is a little lower. That all will go off once we square up the blocks, so don't worry. You can just start exactly where the fabrics are kind of meeting each other. Okay, so all the stack 3 is done, and now it's time to add the last stack, which is stack 4. And again, just chain piece everything, and once I'm done with that last piece, I will take my blocks, because they will be ready blocks, well, not ready, we still need to square them up. I will take them to the ironing board, and then I will press them. Now, pressing directions, wherever fabric takes you. I normally go with the fabric, because if fabric is happy, it will be the most flat seam. and also it won't be matching any seams with anything else. Also at that point I will probably starch it a little bit because it's going to be easier to trim it. And then I've been testing out a few makes of the ready-made starches, and I think I found my best. It doesn't leave those white flakes, it's bigger package than the other ones I've tested, and also it's cheaper so it's good for me. So I will link it in the description below which starch I'm using if you want to check it out. It doesn't make fabric as maybe crisps as the other starches I've used, but actually it's good enough for me for my use with all of the scraps I'm doing. And like I said, it doesn't make the iron dirty and doesn't leave that white residue on the fabric too, which, you know, it's not a problem because you wash it off, but sometimes you can clog your iron as well. Anyway, so let's start with adding the fourth stack. And then, like I said, I will take it to the iron it out, starch a little bit, and I will meet you when I want to trim it. Okay, here are my blocks, and it's time to square them up. Obviously depend on how big your pieces were at the beginning. Your block you will square up to whatever you like. Now I want to use a magic number kind of calculation here, so for the layout. So I will be squaring up mine to 8.5 by 16.5 inches. But again, you can square it up to whatever you like. Just quickly to show you how I'm going to square up my blocks, because obviously I don't have a square ruler long 16.5 inches, so we kind of have to adopt something to make it happen. So let me just take the block number 1. Just start from this side. So I will start squaring up my block by trimming this side. Because I want to keep as much of that fabric, that smallest angle as much as I can. So I'm just going to trim it as little as possible on this side. And then I want to keep as much as I can from this top here. So again, I will trim as little from top as possible. Obviously I want to now have that nice angle here. So I will do that. So that's two sides. Now I need to have a 16.5 inches, and obviously this is my nice side now, so I will measure from here. And I'm using my long ruler here to set up to 16.5 inches, and make sure you're looking at the right side of the ruler, you know, from here that way, not from here. There's a, you know, other corner. Don't ask me how I know. But anyway, so I've got 16.5 inches here, nicely aligned from all sides. And then I will use my small ruler to add to this side, align it with my big ruler, and now I can literally just move away this one and cut it. Now all of those leftovers from this side I will link with other scraps I had from all the fabrics, and I will make another quilt. So if you want to see how I made this one, be sure to watch all tutorials to the end, because every time I've got the project finished I will just pop some pictures on the end, so you'll be able to see that quilt. So I've got now 3 sides done. And also this ruler, I really love it. It's 2.5 inches wide by 12.5 inches long. It wasn't advertised as a quilter's ruler, but it's awesome. The only thing I've added were the stickers or those grips to hold it in place. I will put links in the description to this video, to this ruler and to the grips I'm using. So if you need something like that, you'll be able to purchase it. So I've got one more side left, which is this one, and I will do similar things. So I will take my ruler, which is 12.5 inch, obviously too big, so I will just come here, align it to 8.5, similar thing like I did with the first side. So I've got 8.5 inches aligned here. I will take my long ruler, put it on this side, and now I can just trim it. And again, that strip just go back to the pile of my scraps from these fabrics. It will be a nice another quilt out of it. And that's my squared up block. It wasn't that difficult. So that method of using more than one ruler at a time you can use to any big blocks you want to square up. Okay, so I will square up all of my other blocks and I will pop them on the design board and show you what type of layouts we can build out of it. And then, like I've mentioned, if you want to see how my quilt kind of ended up at the end, be sure to watch tutorials to the end, and every now and then you will see finished projects. And here just a few of layouts for the Christmas Improv blocks. I only used I think 10 designs in it. Obviously it would have been more colorful if I had more fabrics, and by all means it doesn't have to be Christmas fabric. As you can see, any fabrics will go very nicely. Even if the colors are touching each other in different blocks, that's another thing you can kind of put into your design, that it will look like you've worked very hard to plan it that way. It will look even more improv than if every color kind of is not touching each other between the blocks. So really nice block to play with different bigger scraps or fat quarters you've got lying around. You can also use the same kind of technique on the smaller scraps. It doesn't have to be that big. I just wanted to have a quilt made very quickly but with a little bit of oomph there, and I think I achieved that. Because the blocks are size 8.5 by 16.5, I can lay them out that I've got some horizontal and some vertical. They will all fit in together. When you sew two blocks with the longer edge together, you will have one block fitting at the bottom, so it all matches nicely. Again, it's magic numbers, so if you have some maybe fabrics or blocks from, you know, coordinated team ready, you could perhaps matching up and mix up with another type of the blocks as well. So very versatile, very quick. You know, as you can see, it's very quick to make and it's very effective. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial on quick Christmas improv. Please check the description below for all the links and other references I've mentioned in this tutorial. If you haven't done so, I'll be very grateful if you subscribe to my channel, and perhaps you would like to share it with your quilting friends. This is a project I've been working on for my next release on 20th of November. It's a shawl or scarf, however you want to call it. It's very nice, long, warm, backed with fleece, red fleece I had left from my coat, and on the top I've got fabrics from the shirts. It all has been lightly quilted to make sure it's all, you know, nicely kept in place. If you would like a tutorial for this type of the project, please drop the comment below, so I will add it to my to-do list. Thank you for joining, thank you for watching, and see you next time.